Hello everyone, this is Spliced, and today I'm going to be doing a little bit of a different video. I'm going to be responding to the comments I received on the opinion that I had on every character in For Honor. Before I get into the video, I'm going to make a statement that, one, I was really tired when I made that video, so I started saying things, going over it, I realized I was saying things that one, didn't really elaborate that much on, or two, didn't really actually believe myself at the time, but I was more so rambling and ranting, and I guess that would make sense for some of the comments that I got off of it. But two, I also want to make a statement that any opinion I have on the game, I do understand that I have somewhat of a following on For Honor, so people might think that my influence is a lot different than someone like you or anyone else in the comments or someone on Reddit. And the fact right there, I'm just going to completely debunk that, and that is not true at all. Any opinion I have on the game is no different than your opinion or someone else anywhere else. It does not matter the size of an audience that I have for this game, because at the end of the day, when it comes to the developer's decision, they will go with decisions that will be right for the game, not with what someone wants for the game. Just because you want it doesn't mean it's good for the game, and they have to go through a bunch of statistics and test things out to see if it's right. So the opinions I gave out on some of the characters, while some might disagree, some people have gone on and said that they don't like me anymore because they think I have a big influence and that I'm saying the wrong things for characters, and then these changes will happen for characters that they don't want. So just going to completely debunk that. Anyways, let's get right into seeing what some of you guys said. I didn't fully read all of these comments, so we're going to figure out, find some comments and see what you guys had to say on this video and your opinion as well. So with that being said, let's get right into it. Alright, so here's a comment I found. It's a very light comment. It doesn't really have anything negative on it. It's someone else's opinion, and I'm going to use this as a basis for something. So, rip Shugoki opinion. Honestly, that character should have got rebuilt from the ground up. You'd have to add so much to make him viable. He's basically be a brand new hero. He's not fun to play or play against in a high level. So, right here, rip the Shugoki opinion. Again, I was really tired, so I started skipping over some characters because I kind of just wanted to end the video, which is not a good thing to do. I know some people were really looking forward to some of my opinions on certain characters, so I do apologize for that. But my opinion on Shugoki, to further elaborate to having no opinion, is basically I don't think that the character is built well for the current state of the game that it is right now. The game is getting a lot faster, and Shugoki slows the game down to a halt. Because of his natural hyper armor, I understand that is his quirk, that's his own unique thing for the character, but it is not right for the game. Him having a passive hyper armor is not good because it forces people to turtle against a Shugoki, because if you do any offensive attack whatsoever, he will simply guard break you, and if you're near a wall, he will get a good amount of like 40 damage or something like that, 30 something damage, and he'll heal from it as well, which is pretty crazy. So with that in mind, the suggestion I have for Shugoki, which is exactly what this guy said, is this character needs to be completely stripped and rebuilt. The hyper armor needs to be gone. He can get hyper armor on some of his attacks, maybe like some heavy attacks or something, yes. But all in all, I do believe that the hyper armor passive should be completely removed, and that he should be completely redone with a whole new set of moves and something like that. Also, I do believe that his insta-kill when he's at lower than 1 bar of HP should be removed, because that also promotes the team-based gameplay, where if someone gets a guard break on you, the back crack is guaranteed to land even if you counter the guard break, which means that you're instantly dead as soon as the Shugoki grabs you. So that, in my opinion, needs to be removed as well. So that's just one of the comments that I'm going to reply to about Shugoki. All right, so here's another comment I found, and this one is more so on the opinion on PC versus console. So he says your opinions don't seem very objective, especially considered that you're only considering the game on PC. As I stated in the very beginning of the game or the video, I said that this will be my PC opinion for games on PC. The frames can go like 240 and sometimes even above that, which makes the game exponentially slower to the eye, which makes reacting to not naturally faster attacks like an Orochi zone would be pretty reactable on PC, which changes the game completely. So I based my opinion off of a lot of stuff like that. So he says basically, according to my Warden's 50/50 is good, but Highlander's OP. Warlord's B tier at best, needs to need a nerf on the headbutt, which basically is the only move he has. That is true. So the Warlord's only real opener is his headbutt. I said nerf on the recovery because I think that if you're able to dodge a really fast attack, for example, the Gladiator toe stab, the toe stab doesn't really do that much damage. It's about the same as the Warlord. They about the same speed. So I don't want to nerf the speed, but if you're able to dodge it, you should be rewarded with some sort of punish. At the minimum, you should be able to light attack. But I do think a guard break would be more on point. I try to compare characters to what other characters have in similar movesets and where the punishes lie on certain characters. So, for example, Warden used to have a zone where if you block the zone, you can guard break it, but no other character in the game had that, and it was very questionable to me why certain characters can get punished for the exact same attacks that other characters have, and it made no sense to me. So, for example, the Warlord headbutt should have some sort of punish, the same as a Gladiator toe stab. It doesn't do that much damage, but it's really fast, so you're able to chip people down. But if you do it too often and someone reads you, then they can dodge it and get the guard break off of you. So that's the reason why I said that. But he does need a buff in every other area. So his heavies and lights need buffs. He needs more chains, something like that. Maybe some soft feint, something like that. But in terms of his headbutt, which yes, it is his only opener, maybe he needs something different for an opener. Currently in the state that he is, needs a work, and that's why I said he's B tier, because he has a lot going for him, but in terms of his skill in a fight is very linear. Unless if he relies on unlocking, running around and trying to shield bash to guard break or something like that, then really in lock-on mode, he doesn't really have much he can do to you. He can headbutt and then do his light, headbutt light, but that's just some chip damage. And when you dodge it, you sometimes can guard break if you preemptively dodge, but if you dodge on reaction, you won't be able to guard break him unless if you're like a raider or something like that. So he says Berserker needs the hyper armor nerfed, but that's only the thing he has from different from others. Yes, I do agree. Berserker's hyper armor makes his character unique and gives him an offensive position, but we're looking through the eye of what the developers want the game for. The developers want the game to be in. They want to destroy the defensive meta, and they want to make characters a lot more aggressive in both sides. If you're aggressing on an opponent, he should be able to retaliate and then aggress on you. That's like the flow of battle it should be, that what they're trying to get to. Unfortunately, Berserker is a one-way street. You cannot aggress on a Berserker when he's using hyper armor on you, because he will tank your hit and then he will simply keep going for his combo and faking you out. Berserker will always win the trade every 100 times out of 100, unless if there's a certain type of attack you're doing that might win the trade, but most of the time the Berserker will win the trade and then he will keep you on the defensive position. So in order to fight a Berserker, you have to turtle down and wait for the Berserker to do an attack that you can block, which will stop his light, for example, or if you can parry him after prediction. So that's the issue with Berserker, which is why I suggested that if you block a heavy attack, then his hyper armor should disappear for like 2 attacks, which I think is fair, because if he's trying to land some hits and you try to block, then his hyper armor goes away, which gives you some time maybe to like trade. But then again, he can also still be aggressing on you and be more offensive. So maybe there should be something else going on there that should allow that should allow you to retaliate and fight back to the Berserker. I don't know what it would be. Maybe take off the hyper armor on the heavies and put the hyper armor on the lights, but even then that would not be that great. It's a very weird thing with Berserker, but the fact that he can start up a heavy, feint it, and then every attack after that makes him have hyper armor is a little ridiculous in my opinion. Then he says Kensei on console is really OP. So I have no opinion on this. Well, I do. So of course, here's the fine line. Console has 30 FPS lock, which is a huge problem for balancing the game when you're thinking about the fact that they're trying to balance on both platforms, PC and console. And if you make things slower on console, then they translate that over to PC, which is already slow, will be sluggishly slow, which will be extremely turtle fight, and Kensei will be not viable on PC. So they have to, in my opinion, I don't know if this is true, but I'm pretty sure that it is balanced around the PC platform, and then whatever happens on console happens, which is kind of unfortunate. But this is why I said this is my opinion on PC, because if we're talking about opinions on something that has is at the maximum level of what a game can be, then that's where you want to change everything, because then everything will trickle down after that. And if I say something should be faster on PC, and people say it's already super fast on console, then I don't really know what to say to that. It's just something that's unfortunate, and I don't know. It's something that's on the console side that needs to be able to put 60 FPS on the game. 60 FPS at the minimum would be fine for console if that was something that could happen. Orochi also almost OP after the rework, because you can't react to his first two lights. So on PC, you could definitely react to any attack that the Orochi can, and even parry most of his attacks pretty easily when you get used to it. So yes, on console, he's probably ridiculous, just like Aramusha. It's just like the lights are just so fast, and like, oh my god, I don't know what to do. So, but he has no openers. Absolutely no openers. His Storm Rush is very predictable, and his Riptide, which he dashes back, and that's really fast, but if you just simply block top, there's nothing the character can do. It's a light attack, it'll stop his attack, or you can parry it, and then you get a light parry. It's pretty crazy that the Orochi is considered reworked, but in my opinion, that is not a rework at all. That is merely a balance change, but it doesn't really do much, in my opinion. And so the change on console is it's questionable, because yes, Orochi is now ridiculous on console, but he is nothing really that great on PC at the moment. So where do you find the balance of that? Where do you find the middle ground? And I think it's not about like the speed. The speed of attacks is not what we need in the game. It's mix-ups. Mix-ups is what makes a character really good. An example, a Shaman. She could soft feint into pretty much anything. She has really fast, really decent attacks. Nothing is really super fast either. Maybe debatable, her dashing heavies would be something, but even that, you can see the animation of her dashing toward you before she does it, so it gives you time to react to that. So Shaman, in my opinion, is a good example of a character that isn't too fast, but even though she's not too fast, she still has the mix-ups to get in and get some damage on you. Then he says, same with Aramusha, where if you don't do full block, you're going to be screwed. I have no opinion on that whatsoever. Again, I'm talking console only. Yes, so he's talking his console opinion. I understand that on PC things are different, and that's why I think Illustruth was rightfully saying the game should be balanced differently depending on the platform. A 400 MS attack is hardly reactable on console, but on PC that is just fine. So there you go. Balancing differently on different platforms, that will be, you know, up to the company. I'm not going to voice my opinion on that whatsoever. I'm just thinking about the current characters, the characters balance. So that's that comment. I know that was a lot to get through, but we'll find another one right now. Alright, so I found another comment right here. He says, I'm not flaming you, but the Shaman Gladiator main just said Shinobi shouldn't be in the game. My friend, no one ever plays the character. Maybe it's different on PC, but on console, Gladiator's toe stab and zone needs to be changed, and I have no words for Shaman. This isn't fucking Mortal Kombat. Why does anyone anything about her character belong in this game? It's funny he mentions this isn't Mortal Kombat, yet the Shinobi represents Mortal Kombat more than anything with his chain commas, the get over here or whatever that's going on in Mortal Kombat. I don't know if that's in Mortal Kombat, don't quote me on that, but I'm sure there's some character in Mortal Kombat. I'm pretty sure there's a character in Mortal Kombat that has commas that I think it's like Sub-Zero or Scorpion or something like that. So he's kind of contradicting himself, saying the Shaman is a Mortal Kombat character, yet Shinobi is, in my opinion, like the closest thing to Mortal Kombat, which is why I'm voicing my opinion on Shinobi not being in the game. And I know that kind of upsets some people. I do understand that. I didn't mean like, you know, if you main Shinobi, I don't like you kind of thing. Like, you know, the character's in the game. If you paid for the season pass or you paid for the character, by all means play the character. But the state the Shinobi is in, it doesn't make any sense to me. Shinobi is a character that can dash around the map like I think over like 10 times or something like that without running out of stamina. And I understand that was not intentional to be in the game, but the developers decided to keep it in, which is kind of a weird yellow kind of flag to me, which is like, this isn't what they wanted the character to be, but then they're like, oh, we like that. So now this character can dance around the map as he pleases, and you're just left there as a Vanguard hybrid or heavy, just sitting there like waiting for the Shinobi to get close, do the kick, but then when he does the kick, you're forced to dodge. You can't do anything. You can't attack because he gets hyper armor. You can't dodge into something else unless you have a dodge light, which would do some damage to the character. But after you dodge the kick, then he has a dash back button, which that is also unpunishable. You can't guard break that or do an attack that'll trace to that, which is unfortunate. So this character is very weird. It's very linear character, which is just dash dash kick, dash dash kick, dash dash kick, or dash dash light light, and then dash dash heavy feint, guard break. Like there's very small things the character can do outside of dashing, which is literally like dash kicking. Like he always opens up with the dash and then maybe a kick. And if he misses the kick, you can just try again because he controls the fight. The character dashes around the map, and you're sitting there as a Lawbringer or a Warden or a Warlord, whatever, and you're just sitting there just waiting and waiting and waiting for something to happen, like for him to throw a light out that you can parry. And this character makes no sense to me. I don't know what they should do to the character, but going back to what I said in this video, reverting him to his original, I don't think that is a good idea either. I do understand that low HP makes the character very vulnerable in 4v4s, but if you're gonna let this character dash around the map like crazy, then they need to give it some sort of punishment for missing his attacks. Something, because this is kind of ridiculous. This character is ridiculous. He jumps around the map, and you don't know you can't do anything except wait, and that's where turtling comes in. So if we're gonna try to eliminate the turtle meta, you gotta have punishment for certain attacks that the characters do. And Shinobi currently doesn't really have any attacks that could be punished unless if it's lights and heavies. So that's all I have really to say about that. In terms of Shaman Gladiator main, saying Shinobi shouldn't be a game. Well, this is from a PC perspective, so he's getting mad at me because he's a console player, and which I understand, right? Console, the Gladiator's toe stab is probably ridiculously hard to dodge. The zone is probably impossible to dodge, and then the Shaman probably has like insanely fast dash heavies. But I said this was a PC opinion, so if you don't know the difference, then trying to argue the difference is not going to work out, because you simply don't understand that these attacks on console compared to PC, the toe stab on PC is reactable, the zone is reactable, the Shaman dash heavies and headbutts are reactable. So if it's reactable on PC to a fair extent too, you could probably do it consistently as well on PC. Then why should I be trying to explain to you the difference if you won't listen, you know? And I know you said he's not flaming me, but he's trying to say that my opinions don't mean anything because I main Gladiator and Shaman, and he goes against those on console but not on PC. Alright, so here's another comment right here. Stormy Chew says, sorry man, Warden Shoulder Bash is not a good turtle opener. It is not the best turtle opener, but it is a good turtle opener because it has multiple options when going against an enemy. If you're right in their face and you start shoulder bashing, there are 4 things you can do. You can let the shoulder bash go. You can press the shoulder bash again and get guard broken and guard break the enemy. You can feint it, and then you can also charge it so that if they dodge a little bit later than right away, you can still land a heavy shoulder bash and then also get a top heavy, which is a lot of damage compared to a side heavy. Then he says, it's hard for me to take everything else you said seriously when you make claims like that. I also don't really agree with those Lawbringer changes. I do believe neutral shove needs to be sped up, but it guarantees damage. Neutral shove needs to be sped up, but it needs guaranteed damage. I don't think that's a thing that it needs, because when the enemy gets shoved by a Lawbringer, there are multiple options that a Lawbringer has. There is shove, and then you can light attack. You can shove, and then you can heavy. You can feint that heavy. You can shove, and you can long arm. And then you can shove and guard break. So the reason why it shouldn't guarantee damage is because it's going to go in conjunction with my other idea of doing a long arm, which can soft feint into a heavy, or soft feint into a heavy, or a or be fainted, I think I said. Whatever it was, if whatever is changed like that, if the long arm gets a soft feint, then imagine shoving, then doing a long arm, and then soft feinting that into a heavy, which forced the enemy to dodge. This is the way I'm kind of thinking, where you can change stuff without really changing the character, but just adding some extra abilities of the current things that the character has. So putting that into effect, that's why I don't think he needs guaranteed damage on shoves, which would just be another like Warlord, or another Conqueror, which is not what the game needs, because that makes the character very linear, and that's all the character people would just do. They just spam the shove. What do you say here? He said, also, maybe I'm crazy and I didn't hear it, but I hear no mention of shove on block. That mechanic needs to go. That mechanic does not need to go. Shove on block is one of the key things that makes the Lawbringer an offensive character after a character attacks you. So it's called a counter attacker. And if you're going to go by that definition, you need to understand what that means. Counterattacking means when you get attacked, you're able to do something that will force the enemy onto the defense, and you can start doing your attacks towards them that will force them to react as well. And that's how you can keep the flow of battle. Lawbringer is so close to making that flow of battle constant in this game. The problem is that he is a turtle machine at the moment, because his attacks are so slow and he doesn't have any mix-up, so he can't do anything offensive himself. So he's forced to wait for you to attack, and then he can react. And I do understand that's what the character is meant to do, but that's not the way the game should be going. Not the direction the game should be going. He says, I don't care who you are or how good you are at the game, blocking shouldn't be a part of character's kit. Again, I think Lawbringer needs that. A lot of these ideas I just didn't really agree with. For example, the Glad nerf. His zone does need the nerf, but he needs a buff in other areas. He still has unsafe attacks on block, and you made zero mention of them, and his reflex guard is way too short. So this is where I'd say I was too tired, and I didn't get through the depth of every single character and every single problem. I do agree with that. The fact that the Valkyrie got buffed in terms of the dash lights on block, she doesn't get guard broken, but now the Gladiator does, is kind of weird to me. I do agree that should be removed. The dashing lights should never be a free guard break. a lot of these ideas I just don't really agree with. For example, the Glad... Oh, sorry, I already said that. Sorry, it's just hard for me to take this video seriously when you don't mention stuff like that. I get it's your opinion, but that's just how I feel. There you go. That's my response to what you have to say, Stormy Chu. Let's move on to the next comment. Why are you complaining about Warlord's headbutt? The recovery is the same as any other bash, such as Conk's kick. I think he means Conk's bash, or maybe he means sense kick. I think he means sense kick. Or Warden's shoulder bash used at the time to right. So, no. The Warlord actually has a much faster attack than the Centurion kick and the Warden's shoulder bash. The Warlord can let out the headbutt pretty much right when he dodges, same as like the Conqueror shield bash, except he has a little bit more of a delay than the Conqueror. The headbutt is about when Conqueror, before he got buffed. It's a little bit faster than that. And Centurion's kick is not fast at all. That is very reactable on PC. And Warden's shoulder bash is even slower than that, because he has to dodge forward, then he goes into a shoulder bash animation, sits there for a second or so, and then he moves forward. And the difference between Warden is that he has mix-ups involved with the dash, the headbutt, or the shoulder bash, whereas Warlord's headbutt is just one-trick pony, but it's really fast. And that needs... So he's talking about the recovery, but I was just going to point that out right there. The headbutt recovery is the same as any other bash, such as sense kick or Warden's shoulder bash. No, it's not. Or maybe if he's even talking Conqueror's shield bash. So if he's talking about Conqueror's shield bash, then that's a problem, because Conqueror's shield bash should not have insanely fast recovery. And even sense kick, if you miss that, you should be able to guard break that as well, I believe. I don't think that's fair that you're not allowed. Because if the Centurion kicks and doesn't do a heavy, you can guard break it, but you have to preemptively dodge. If you dodge on reaction, you won't be able to guard break it. And Warden's shoulder bash, if you dodge that has recovery. That's the recovery that can get guard break if you dodge on reaction. If you dodge the Warden's shoulder bash on reaction, sometimes you can't, but that's like a really late reaction dodge. But if you dodge it pretty early on, as it's released, I think that, yeah, you can definitely guard break that. So I do disagree with this comment right here. Okay, Monocle Squid here. Warden, who is basically just a captain with a bash. I don't know what he means by... Oh, he's probably talking about the AI captains. Doesn't need a rework. A tier. Shaman, who has slightly less good opener, but fucktillion other skills. Worse than Warden. Totally fair. I never said Shaman was worse than Warden. I said she is A tier, which means that she is balanced. And I also said that Warden is A tier, which means that he's balanced. I never said that he's worse than Warden. He says, sorry, bro, but you have no idea what you're talking about. Okay. So... I've already explained my opinion multiple times on Warden, and I'm going to reinforce this opinion. So let me try to reiterate this. Doesn't need a rework does not mean that he doesn't need some more changes on the character. Rework, in my opinion, is adding more moves to the character, moves that he never had before. I do believe that Warden needs a rebalance. Rebalance, in my opinion, is soft feints, speed changes, and damage changes. That is a rebalance. Warden needs a speed change on his side lights. He needs a soft feint maybe on his heavies. A heavy into a heavy would be pretty cool, with a different kind of animation. That would be pretty cool. But that's all he really needs. He doesn't need a whole lot, because already when you play the character, there is no turtling going on with Warden that I experience. And I do understand that he seems like a one-trick pony because all he has is his shoulder bash, but that's all he needs. Not all characters need a billion types of openers and different unblockables and soft feints like Shaman to be a character that is viable and fun to play. In my opinion, I do believe that Warden is in a pretty good state right now. He just needs a small tweak some soft feints, a few speed changes, his damage is fine, and he'll be good because he can still mix up and make you force a reaction. And that is my opinion on Warden. Alright, so we have another comment about Kensei. So he says, Kensei, wait, WTF, how can you think he is bad? He's God tier, literally has everything in the game, and he's a Vanguard WTF. Yes, he does, actually. He has quite a bit of soft feints, unblockables, openers. He has everything he could ever need. His damage is way too high. His lights are fast and way more. Mr. Spliced, what you just said is one of the most insanely idiotic things I've ever heard. At no point in your rambling, incoherent response were you even close to anything that could be considered a rational thought. Everyone who has watched this video is now dumber for having listened to it. I award you no points, and may God have mercy on your soul. So the only thing I said on Kensei was that his starting heavy is way too slow of an opener, because it opens into many things. It's a really good opener. The problem is only one of them is actually an opener. See, he has a heavy that he can let go. He can heavy into a side heavy. He can heavy into a side light. He can heavy and then feint it. And then he can heavy and then dodge forward. So those are all of them that he has on the top heavy. But then he also has his opener, which is heavy into the pommel strike. All I said was that the wait time into doing the pommel strike is too long. It gives me too much time to see what he's going to do. The reason for that is, for example, if he does a light, you can see that it's a light. But if he does a heavy, you'll know it's a heavy because it takes too long to start up. So by that logic, it makes you think like, oh, it's a heavy. I don't have to try to parry it as you might not think. You might be thinking it's a light, but since you can see the animation of a heavy, you'll know that you don't need to parry it. Which you'll just keep the guard stance up. And then as soon as the guard changes into left or right, you just have to determine if it's going to be a light or heavy. Even if you don't even want to parry, you can just block it. And then that character doesn't get anything out of that. When he does his pommel strike, then you'll know because all the indicators disappear, and then an unblockable indicator comes up, and it's like, okay, that's the pommel strike, and then you dodge that, and you just either wait, or you do a guard break, or you just wait and see if he does the light attack. And I've seen some Kensei mains complain about this, saying there's no real indicator of telling you that the light is going to, like, or the pommel strike is going to hit. So, for example, if you do the pommel strike and they dodge, you're going to have to do a light right after, because the recovery time after getting hit by a pommel strike is so fast or so short that if you wait just a little bit to see if the pommel strike hit the person, your light won't connect. So you have to really commit to those lights, which if you commit and the person dodged already, he'll just parry that light. And that's where the opener fails. And that's all I said. That's all I have to say on that, is he just needs a little bit of a buff in that area. Everything else is great. He's a great character. I do agree. On console, he's probably ridiculous. On PC, he's a good character. So I'm sorry that this guy had to overreact. I'm sorry you overreacted to me saying a small thing on Kensei. I never said he was bad. I just said that his top heavy is too slow. That's all I have to say on that. Let's move on to the next comment. Zachary Rogers said, fuck off with the ads, bruh. If you know about the demonetization that happened in 2017, made all ad revenue on all videos plummet. And I resorted to started putting some more ads on the video in order to gain some more revenue. So I'm able to keep making videos for you guys without having to look for any external jobs at the moment. So I hope you guys do accept that I have to put some ads on my videos, and also I made nothing off this video. Anyways, let's move on to the next comment. It would be nice if you added face cam. Gotcha, man. I got you. Alright, so now we're going to move on to some top rated comments. I just simply went over here and sorted to top to newest. I was on the newest comments, which are usually people that, you know, the opinions don't really get out to other people, but they're the ones that are the most raw, so I can give like the most like unfiltered opinion on and response to. But we're gonna see what other people have to say about other characters that have been upvoted by other people that are reinforced. So let's see. EFB right here. How's it going, EFB? Love your videos. Love your Shinobi. Fucking badass player. I had a good time playing Fortnite with you, by the way. Anyways, enough kissing each other. Let's kissing up to each other. Let's get right into this comment and let's see what you had to say. I'm not mad at what you said about Shinobi. The character is too safe, which is the main reason why I use him, honestly. I can play really aggressively, knowing I can't be punished. What you stated about health, I'm not sure will that be a good fix. How safe he is, because in 4v4s, an aggressive Shinobi can get 2 hit. So with 90 health, he'd probably die, and to 1 heavy and 1 light. There you go. As I stated earlier, in a 4v4 situation, yes, the character is not good with 90 HP, and I do understand the change. But now that makes him kind of ridiculous in 1v1s, which is kind of questionable. He's very limited. Only good thing he has is the kick. Maybe reworking him would be a great solution, but I'm not really sure what they can add to him. Yep. So that's the kind of same opinion I had. Thanks for the opinion you left. Thanks for the comment, EFP. Appreciate it. Just a quick shout out to both of these guys, ERGTA and David Alcaraz. I was really tired, of course, so when I posted this, I didn't put timestamps. These guys right here put timestamps for all the topics on every character, which is pretty cool. Kind of sad that I only gave like 30 seconds on Ibushi. I'll get to that in a minute. And then this guy put like all the tiers that I did. So here's a quick shout out to these two guys. Amazing stuff. Thank you guys. Appreciate it. This guy, Garrett Seno, has 184 upvotes. He says, I think Shaman's bite is stupid. Too much reward for very basic soft feint light. I swear to God, only an awful shaman wouldn't land a bite when she gets a bleed. If they removed or nerfed the bite and did absolutely nothing else, I'd probably enjoy playing against Shaman, but knowing that one missed reaction will almost guarantee cost me 65 health or so, and heal Shaman for 25 is so depressing it makes me dislike the character a ton. Oh, and homing missile leaping attacks coming at me before I'm even locked on is stupid. So this is how the character's made. In terms of getting health back from the bleed, I don't think she needs it. Like, it's really not a thing. I understand that's like part of her like unique thing that's going on with the character. I really do like though how when she bleeds, she opens up a new attack, which is the grab from the leap. But I think that's very linear, and there should be more, because when you're bleeding, then that's like the main thing you'll expect from a shaman is like, okay, when she leaps, it's going to be a grab. And like, there's got to be something else. I think maybe some different kind of change. But I don't think the heal is really that necessary. Maybe like 10 HP. It's not supposed to be like that big. I do believe, though, is that the bite should not restore her stamina to full. That's kind of ridiculous. That's something I think she should get that kind of nerf. Okay. Oculus 442, 56 upvotes. Also Spliced. You have to think that you're the only person in the majority of us Warden mains. I'm a closed beta veteran. Same here. Run into turtles and spammers regularly. That is not true. I run into a lot of people that mix up and know the character very well. If someone is turtling, they can roll away as soon as you try to do the shoulder bash and just turtle again. So yes, the enemies can just roll away. How much stamina does rolling away do, though? It takes up 50% of your stamina, I'm pretty sure, if I'm correct. So if you know how to pressure an enemy and you see them get below half stamina, maybe you should shoulder bash and see what they do. If they roll away, they're out of stamina, you get right in their face and you start shoulder bash mixing up, which is where a lot of your damage will come in for a warden. You can say that same excuse for any attack in the whole game. Roll away from everything. Yes, you can roll away from anything in the game. Doesn't mean that that's a valid thing to do. It just resets the fight. That's the turtle strat, and like, I do agree that something needs to be changed for that, maybe, but I don't think that rolling away, every time I go against people that roll away from my shoulder bash, they don't usually end up winning because they don't know how to properly react to the shoulder bash. So every time I do it, they're forced to do that. They go out of stamina, and then I mix them up and get some free damage. Warden's top lights are predictable. Yes, they are, but if you mix it up with a top heavy, or you shoulder bash, feint it, and then you do a top heavy, and then you light. There's many ways of mixing up the top light to get it in. The whole idea of the top light is that it's supposed to set up the attack that comes afterwards. Even if you whiff the top light, you whiff it, wait a second, then do a shoulder bash when they try to react to you and try to guard break. There's many different things that you can do. It's just up to you on how you want to mix up that top light. You don't only have to do a top light. There's many different things you can do. You can let heavies go. For example, sometimes people react to heavies all the time, and they get free damage from the heavies. His soft light, side lights are extremely slow. Yes, that needs a buff. I do agree with that. He doesn't have enough to truly mix it up. I do disagree with that. Orochi's new light chain on console is literally unreactable. I pray for you guys on console. On PC, it is quite very easily reactable. Full opinion on some characters, yes. I was really tired, and some characters I just don't really have an opinion on. That is completely true. Valkyrie, I don't really have an opinion on. Nobushi, don't really have an opinion on. I don't play these characters enough, and I don't know them. I don't know their problems. I do know that the big problem with Valkyrie is her damage, and she does need a damage buff. I do agree with that full-heartedly. Maybe even a speed buff on some things. But I don't really know what she needs as a rework, so I can't really give my opinion. If I give an opinion on things that aren't 100% factual to my own self and that I don't agree with myself, then I'm not going to like telling you guys that. Like, for example, if I say Valkyrie needs like an unblockable on every heavy, then like I don't agree with that. I don't even know if I do. So how can I say that? Anyways, that is just what I have to say. With some characters, I just don't have an opinion. So I do apologize for some people who wanted my opinion on some characters. I just don't have anything to say about them. So I do apologize. I'm sorry about that. Okay. So this one is kind of interesting. He says, I don't want to hate Spliced. I like your content, but you spent 15 minutes talking about Warden and then one of the others. So the reason why I spent 15 minutes talking about Warden is because I'm trying to reinforce the last video, which had a title before that one, which was simply Warden didn't need rework, and then it was just a montage that got muted because of the video got blocked in all countries and I had to like redirect. But the title, I did that because I wanted to go against the grain. I was like, okay, now I think it's time I put my voice out there and I tell people we need to just stop screaming for reworks for every character. It's getting ridiculous, and I need to try to just, maybe I can get myself in there and try to work something out. So I spent 15 minutes because I was trying to reinforce that opinion, and I knew people are going to mostly be on this video for that opinion, so that's why I started off with Warden. So 1 minute, so like 1 minute for one of the others, and stuff like that. He says, so again, some characters I don't have that much of an opinion on, so I do apologize. You say Warden doesn't need a rework, and Raider does. Yes, Raider does need a rework. He has terrible mix-ups right now. His mix-ups are very reactable. They're not terrible. They're just reactable. His combos are very linear, heavy, light, heavy, or heavy, 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 or light, light, light. Like, it's very, it's not that great. They're very linear, and his lights are not really that fast. His heavies are very slow. I do understand the damage that comes with it. Like, if you're gonna have high damage and then slow heavies, they don't really work unless if you have mix-ups to go with it. So, yes, Raider does need speed buffs, and not really damage buffs. His damage is really good, but he needs speed buffs and some other kind of thing. I don't really know what he needs. And you could have put a little identification of any sort to tell your audience which character you're talking about. Again, sorry, I was tired. Warden is 100% not A tier, bro. I'm sorry, but he doesn't compare to the newer characters and reworked heroes. Just because the character's reworked doesn't mean the character is better than the current heroes. For example, Shaman has not been reworked. Gladiator has not been reworked. There's some characters that like haven't been really reworked, but even the characters that have been rebalanced, like Highlander, it wasn't a rework. They didn't say it was a rework. It was a rebalance. But now he's like the best character in the game. That is not true at all. Warden can definitely compete with the other characters. I'm beating the reworked heroes. I beat tons and tons of Kenseis that everyone claims is the best hero in the game now, which is not true at all. He's very reactable on many things and predictable on many things as well. Okay, so this is going to be the last comment I comment on, and this is going to be Highlander. And I'm going to voice my opinion on Highlander, and then I'm going to say a couple things afterwards. Kick to grab is countered by any dodge attack except for Glad. I don't know why. If you don't have one, you simply throw a light when you hear him scream. Doesn't work. So kick to grab, of course, if you do a light, it'll work. But if it's kick, it will land. And if the kick lands, then it's 40 damage. So here's the problem with Highlander, and the reason why I think he's the best character in the game, like the best character in the game out of all characters. Of all 18, he is number 1. When he goes into offensive stance, it's a whole new game in For Honor. It's a whole different game. The game is, what the game normally is a parry game and reaction game, and try to react to certain attacks. Highlander forces you to turtle, but also doesn't let out any attacks that can be parried. From a good Highlander, they don't let out any parryable attacks. Now, what does this mean? It means you have to turtle a character, but the only way to get damage is to successfully dodge the mind game that the Highlander is about to throw out at you. The mind game consists of a regular kick that if you dodge, you will be able to punish with like a shoulder bash from Warden, or a dash light, or a dodge and then a light, but you can't guard break. But if a Highlander is a really good player, he can mind game you to make you think it's a kick and then do the caber toss right after and grab you. Yes, you are completely right. If you do a light attack, it will land. But if the Highlander knows you're going to try to light attack, then he will let the kick go. There's other things he can do where he will let an unblockable go and then feint it. Or he will just let the unblockable go and it's a whiff, which will make you think, oh, I can attack him now because he whiffed, and you'll get close, and then he'll dodge and kick you. His offensive dodges are extremely fast recovery, which allows him to dodge virtually every offensive attack that's thrown, even chain attacks, like double light, for example. And that is kind of troublesome, because if he's able to dodge everything, even zones, for example, I've gone against really good really good Highlanders that I threw out every kind of mix-up I could think of. Feints, he did not react to the feints. I threw out lights into zones in every kind of way, and they would dodge everything. I had really fast attacks that he would just dodge, and then he knew as soon as I stopped, or as soon as I had an attack that had enough recovery, he would kick me, which gives him a guaranteed 40 damage. And then on top of that, he has really fast 400 MS lights that don't take up too much stamina anymore. I don't think the character is, I don't think that, the character is unbeatable. Of course, the character is unbeatable if you stop them from going in offensive stance and you really pressure them at that point. It's kind of like Shugoki, where it's like you're on a timer-ish, where you have to wait for the passive armor, but in this case, it's him getting into offensive stance. Then, you can definitely beat a Highlander. But where it stands right now, the game changes. For Honor completely changes. Everything you knew about the game, you have to throw out the window, because it becomes a mental game of guessing what the character is going to throw. Is it going to be a kick, or is it going to be a grab? If you think it's a kick, you can't do a light, so you dodge. But if you're wrong and it's a caber toss, then you're grabbed, because you have to wait. The weird thing with the 50-50 is that this is actually a mental 50-50. It's not a reactable 50-50, because if you think it's a caber toss, which is the grab, and you see the kick coming towards you, you have to wait longer than the kick's supposed to hit you. So after the kick was supposed to hit you, that's when you dodge, when the caber toss comes out. And the caber toss comes out after the kick. Well, not after. It comes out before the kick hits you. But you have to dodge after the kick is supposed to hit you, if that makes sense. So let's say a Highlander does a kick. The moment that hits you, that's the time you're supposed to be dodging for the caber toss. So if you dodge at any moment before that, if you see a kick coming out, you're like, oh, I dodged the kick, and then it's a caber toss, you'll be grabbed. That is the problem with Highlander, and that's where a lot of his damage comes in, a lot of free damage. Unless if you're Assassin. Assassin has the advantage on that. You can do a dodge light, and that's where they have the advantage. And I think if every character had some sort of gimmick like that, maybe that would make the character a little bit easier to fight. But currently, because of that, with his ridiculously fast recoveries on his offensive dodges, and then his kick into caber toss, like that 50-50, makes the character unbelievably ridiculous to fight. So that's going to be it for my response to all the comments, or some of the comments that I've been getting on that video. Hope this clears something up for you guys, and hopefully guys you have a different say or vision on what I had to say, different thought, whatever it could be. Now, I'm going to give my suggestion to Ubisoft for what the game needs in order to be more aggressive and more fast-paced. And it's something I don't see anyone really commenting on or saying, but it's something that the game really needs. So, zones, for example, take up 50% of your stamina, and the way they're going with it is that they want zones to chain into stuff. So PK zone goes into a top light, or you can feint it into a guard break and stuff like that. And my question is, how can this be an offensive, aggressive, fast-paced game if they're promoting zones and these crazy-ass combos that take up 80% of your stamina for just doing one simple combo? How can you promote aggressive play if all your stamina is gone after one simple combo? My suggestion is increase the stamina on all characters. All the characters need stamina increases in order to be more aggressive. After doing certain combos, you know, you need to be able to push a character. If you're aggressing on them and you're like putting them in a defensive position, you should be rewarded for aggressing on them and pushing them into a defensive position where they're forced to just hunker down and try to react to everything you're doing. That means you're doing a good job. I'm not saying turtling where they're purposely waiting for you to attack. I'm saying like they want to attack you, but you're just wailing on them over and over again, getting some damage in and just punishing them for all their attempts to react to you. And the only way to do that is to increase the stamina where characters have like the ability to push enemies. And the other thing with stamina that I find really frustrating with the game that should be removed is the fact that you can stamina drain when characters are already out of stamina. That is absolutely ridiculous. For example, it makes characters like Conqueror so nightmarish out of stamina, or Warlord or Raider, because they can force you to dodge out of stamina, then they can guard break, right? Which that's fine, but the whole time you're out of stamina, you should be gaining your stamina back. There should be no stamina drain whatsoever. If at the very least it halts your stamina for a small amount of time, very minimum. But if you were able to get your stamina back no matter what the character is doing to punish you, it would make the game so much more enjoyable, because when you have stamina against characters like Conqueror, you are so afraid of losing your stamina that you are afraid to attack, because if the character parries you, then you're going to be out of stamina. You do one single heavy attack and you get parried, and you lose all your stamina, because heavy costs stamina to use quite a bit, and then the heavy gets parried, and then that takes up like 70% of your stamina, and you're next to nothing. He parries you and then does a shield bash, and that takes up 25%, and you're out of stamina. And then you're out of stamina, and then he starts shield bashing you or guard breaking you. And those are the two things that I think really need to be changed in this game in order for the game to be way more aggressive. But with that being said, that is my entire comment comeback, response to the comments, whatever you want to call it, on this video, and of course my opinion on the aggressive play and turtle changes for the game. With that being said, hope you guys did enjoy this video, hope you guys did understand and learn something, and I'll see you guys in the next video.